Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Aries Fears. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing is, as far as Aries Fears goes, keep in mind that Pisces often falls on the 12th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Aries. So the fears may be Pisces related. So there could be a simply fear of appearing submissive, passive, or weak to others. Aries can have a very strong personality. I think really looking weak or passive or docile can really put Aries in a state of trepidation. They always want to conquer and win. They don't like to lose. Surrender is not the option for Aries. I mean, Aries is about emerging victorious, whether it may be a verbal or a physical bout. So anyway, and also the surrender thing. This goes to Aries having to admit wrongdoing or being wrong. And I think Aries, I mean, if they have to admit they're wrong, then it's like they're losing in some capacity. So I think that is something that they could be very averse to and have a fear of. So anyway, and also being confused or ambivalent. Aries is about action and being decisive, I think. So when you have if Aries does not really, I mean, be appearing confused or uncertain about something or nebulous is really not an option for Aries. I think this is where this Pisces often falling on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart can fall in. Anyway, I think Aries can also have a fear of just simply letting someone else be strong. Something where, I mean, where they take the back seat and let somebody else be that dominant person or stand up for somebody or a situation or take the lead, because Aries wants to really, they want to be the ones that are going to be strong, the ones that are going to be outspoken, that are going to speak up, that are going to fight their fight or maybe somebody else's in some instances. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it's good to just take a step back and give somebody else a chance to speak up, stand up for themselves. So anyway, and also showing strong compassion could be something that could be a fear of Aries. I want to get with you too is that the 12th house is about fear, so that's why I'm talking about Aries having like these Pisces, often these Pisces like fears, because Pisces often falls on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Aries. Also, the thing about this too is really seeing, I think it's really talking about Pisces often being on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart. There could be a fear of appearing lethargic or lazy even. I mean, Aries is known to be very active, very energetic. I mean, they're not far behind Leo, I don't think, in terms of their energy level, their vitality. And if they come across as lethargic or lazy or lackadaisical, I think it goes back to the weakness. It looks like that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, that they appear weak or weak-willed or what have you. And also fantasizing, I think, is something that's generally not an option for most Aries, because fantasizing means being stagnant and means not being active, not energetic, not taking action, being idle. It's all tied into that. And also escapist tactics can be something they could be very averse to. What's interesting too, with Pisces often being on that 12th house cusp in the solar natal chart for Aries, Pisces can be about drugs and addictions, and I think Aries might really be very strongly averse to this. A lot of people, regardless of sign, can be as well. But I think Aries is really often one of the more healthier signs of the zodiac, and I think they can have a very strong aversion and more of a fear toward these things than the other signs on average. I mean, Virgo as well I mean, Virgo is it can be a health fanatic, so they can be as well, I think. So anyway, well, going to the 7th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Aries, I mean, is that Libra often falls on it. Now, the thing about it is, now I talked about the 12th house being the house of fears, but the 7th house in astrology is like our opposite to what we are. And these can be characteristics and tendencies that really are we're about not really we often will not use because they're the antithesis of what we're about based on our sun, moon, or ascendant. So anyway, so compromise can be something, I mean, given Libra being on that 7th house cusp, compromise could be something that Aries can often be averse to, because if Aries has to compromise, it's basically saying, well, you know, I'm wrong to some degree. If I have to negotiate, I have to compromise, I'm giving in to some degree, I'm losing in a way. It goes back to that, I believe. And also mediation, because I think Aries is not always could be the best at being a mediator, because what it is, Aries, I mean, can often thrive on conflict, so they're so used to actually being in conflict. I think they might have difficulty finding a way to intervene and actually diffuse certain arguments. So anyway, now, I think also, I mean, with Libra on that 7th house cusp, I mean, charm is something they might be averse to, because maybe because if they use any charm, they come across as superficial or phony. And Aries, I think, likes to be very real, very direct about things. I think they feel they don't have to use that to get the things that they need. And that's basically what Aries is about, I believe. Now, also, they could be somewhat averse to, I think, bouncing ideas off others, with having Libra on the 7th, the Libra, or should just Libra simply being their opposite sign, whether it's Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. Libra being their opposite sign, I think bouncing ideas off others, because Aries is often self-reliant, and they think they want to have the ideas themselves. Aries can often be very pioneering, but they like to be independent, and I think that pertains and applies to ideas as well. And they don't want to say, well, I got help from this person on this idea. They want to get the credit all themselves. So anyway, and also collaborating goes similar to what I'm talking about. Collaborating with others is something they could fear, because Aries, again, they want to be self-reliant. They don't want to necessarily, in general, want to be doing things with others. They like to do things on their own often. So, and I think they want to be able to get the credit for a project or endeavor that is completed. So but for themselves, and not necessarily get the have the others get the credit with it. So anyway, last but not least, also, it's important to look at the house that Capricorn is on in a natal chart, because that can show that in a certain sector of life where one might evade, elude, or avoid. And Capricorn often falls on the 10th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Aries. And because of this, well, see, I don't think Aries is necessarily averse or they avoid anything career-wise, or they're anything with their livelihood or getting notoriety. But I think how this could manifest is the fact that Aries does not necessarily want to see anything, have any pessimistic or negative. They might fear like an overly pessimistic or negative outlook regarding something pertaining to their career, their reputation. I think they might want to avoid that and anything negative with it, because Aries is just a lot of times feels like they're the thing and that they can do no wrong, I think, and really about themselves, and regardless of whatever aspect or sector of life it is. And I think it's with their reputation. If they hear something negative, they don't necessarily want to always deal with it or confront it, because they feel that they might often feel there's no reason why that should be anyway, because Aries does feel, they have a certain, I guess you could say, an importance about themselves. So anyway, and also authority figures can be the thing they can avoid to some degree, because they like to be the ones in authority. They don't like somebody else dictating the course of action. So I think that's how this could manifest as well. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Aries Fears. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about Taurus Fears. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.